have a question for everyone, and that is, if you were Wyoming dictator for the day, what would you do? What one policy, regulation of state government would you like to change? And we will begin with Ms. Peterson on this one.
Wouldn't that be fun if you could just disregard rules and laws and had an unlimited pocketbook? It's hard to say where one would start. I know one of the first things I would fix is the wage disparity in this state. And I think it's disreputable that we are the last in this nation in terms of the wages paid to men and women for the same work, and women make 64 cents for every dollar that men make. Some people say that's because women are traditionally not working in the mineral industry, but it's much deeper than that. And one of the ways, a couple of ways, I think that we could address it. I'd love to talk about a whole slew of issues, but I think I'll just focus on one because we don't have very much time up here. Some of the things that we can do that I think would be really helpful, the Wyoming Women's Foundation, as many of you know, Council, is beginning to teach women to be more thoughtful and more assertive about asking for a raise. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So many women don't recognize their own worth and the great jobs that they do. As I walk up and down the main streets of all the towns in Wyoming, I can't believe how many great women are running businesses. And another thing we can do through the community colleges, we're already starting to do, is when those young women first begin college, they can be encouraged to think about taking science and engineering and math and a different group of courses than they might otherwise do.
Okay, Mr.
Tom Hubert. I think if I had that kind of power, I would really enjoy it. Never in my life have I had that kind of power. I think what I'd say is that we would have no sales tax at all that day on anything you buy, and that we would rent a plane, or as many as they take, and go to the next Wyoming football game. Thank you.
Matt Mead, Republican for governor. The dictator for a day is a great question, one we have not been asked in these many months.
Right.
And when I think about dictators, I wonder if you get shot at the end of the day. If I had the whole day, here's one issue. What I would want to do is secure Wyoming's water now and in the future for not 5 years, 10 years, but in perpetuity, hundreds and hundreds of years. Because water is our natural, most precious natural resource. And whether it's for recreation, whether it is for industry, whether it's for our communities, whether it is for wildlife, water is key to Wyoming. And we are an arid state, but we are the headwaters for many other states. And if I could be dictator for a day, and I could say, listen, we are going to secure today, for now and forever, Wyoming water to sustain us forever. That would be what I would do as dictator, and then bunker down and hope I don't get shot.
If I were dictator, Pete Ghost, our Democratic candidate for governor, if I were dictator for a day, I think I might head down a path that I've been wanting to for quite some time. You know, the resources that we talk about gas, oil, and coal. We don't talk about water. We don't talk about viewsheds. We don't talk about wild critters and open spaces. And so I'd have that discussion with people, you know, that we cannot sacrifice one for the other. And there is a way to do it. And when Pinedale had the ozone warnings, that place is my hometown. That was shocking to me, and it's surprising to me that it always takes a disaster. I wonder, why does it always take a disaster? Why can't we begin to regulate? Because that's the role of the governor, to regulate. And those regulations, I work as a pilot, and so I'm in one of the most heavily regulated industries around. And I work in a company, I worked in a company one time that those were the reasons that it was safe to get on that airline, those regulations. And those regulations serve a purpose, and they're important. And I think that I would have that discussion with people and say, you know what, those minerals belong to you. This land belongs to you. It's time to treat them together, and it's time to take care of them both. It can be done, it should be done, and all it does need to be is asked to those corporations.
Rita Meyer, Republican candidate for governor. Well, I was going to talk about water, but since my good friend Matt Mead did, I'm going to talk about something else, and that's a way we can have money to fight for the water that belongs to Wyoming. If I had the power for one day, I would make sure that the dollars, the appropriated, your taxpayer dollars that are spent on behalf of products and services spent by the state of Wyoming are spent on the main streets of Wyoming, whether that's for capital construction or products or services. I am the comptroller for the state of Wyoming. As such, I maintain a roster of hundreds and hundreds of vendors that that receive checks from the state of Wyoming. Their zip codes are out of the state of Wyoming. We wouldn't even have to put few dollars into economic development if we simply refocus the spending of your taxpayer dollars to enhance Main Street businesses and construction firms and other true Wyoming held businesses.